Yeah, I'm gonna get us banned immediately to start the new year.
Oh, that's
It's gonna
always a
be
way to start.
it's gonna be a copyright infringement right off the bat.
Right away. Straight to jail. Right away.
Straight
Overcooked
away.
or undercooked fish.
I'm just gonna send that to the kids. Yeah. We got 4 minutes before we have to technically start, but stream's up. Let people filter in. Let them.
Let them figure it out.
Yeah.
Lest we figure it out? Question mark.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I actually gotta come over some night and we just gotta play some Legacy.
Ooh, yeah, I could go for that too.
Yeah. I have like 4 decks and I need to like get really familiar with the lists.
Okay, okay.
I need to
I'd
get
be down for that
into.
any day.
Yeah. Nick Fit is the one that like Nick Fit is the one that appeals to me most because it feels the
Needs
most
brain
junky.
power.
Yeah. It feels like
Can't just.
feels jundy.
It definitely is.
Yeah. It's that or I could play lands, but lands looks I don't know.
It's not as fun as it ever seems like on paper. On paper, it seems like it's going to be a blast. In reality, it ends up being pain.
Yeah. It just seems boring.
Yep.
What's up, motherfuckers?
Not much.
Oh shit.
Boom. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-bum. Oh wow. The boys are here. The core three.
I get a whole music intro. Nice.
Yeah. I did
Now
one
you
for
now,
Jank too. So
now you will permanently have the music intro for everyone every time they enter the chat.
no. No, please, no. I think I'm not the one who hates that the most, though. I think that's Jank who hates that idea the most.
It drives me insane. Slowly.
Which
Good news is I'm already insane.
what is it that drives you insane though? Is the question. Is it the music or is it when I do the parodies and I make them just utterly perverse?
Um, it depends. It depends on whether or not I was foolish enough to have this being broadcast into the airwaves around me,
Hmm.
or if I was wise enough to get like a set of headphones in. Then I
It's his,
don't mind
it's
the
his,
parody.
it's his gaping butthole, of course.
Yeah, that too.
Sometimes when our nuts touch, I go, what the fuck is up? We're at the deli counter. Why are our nuts out in public?
What the fuck is up, Kyle?
What the fuck? I feel like this is an experience you've had then.
That's like a
2023.
it's a
Welcome.
Taylor Swift song, isn't
Is it? Sometimes when we touch is a Taylor Swift song?
it?
I assume.
Oh. Well, you guys
I
do
don't
know
know.
my
I don't listen to what the kids listen to.
you do know my love of fucking Taylor Swift. I'd
He's a
crank it to her.
Swifty.
Get Taylor Swifty.
Get, get
Get Taylor
Taylor
Swifty.
Swifty.
Get Taylor Swifty, yeah. Well,
Oh, that's a good one.
boys, just don't mind me. I'm proxying up 2 vintage decks.
I'm sure they're very reasonable.
Well, I went with a Ravager Shops build that was requested, and somebody wanted that to enter the format, dip their toe in. So that's their Christmas gift, and I hope they're not watching tonight, or at least they tuned in right after I said that. And for the other one, of course, I went with Bug Midrange because I am a midrange player at heart.
Yeah, and Jun mid-range is very close to Bug mid-range.
Principally speaking, it's the same idea. I'm
I'm
gonna.
going to mitigate your resources and kill you with efficient creatures.
Yep, that's
Makes sense.
it's what I like to do, and I like the power struggle to who asserts themselves in the fight. And, the difference is like Jun mid range would be absolutely like I guess with Pyroblast and shit, it would theoretically have ground game against like maybe even something like up to Tendrils if it gets like a Dark Confidant T1.
Mhm.
But I like it would just fold to the Charbelchers, like the lone Charbelcher and like I don't know. I think Jund would be a lot more viable in Vintage than people would give it credit, but I still don't think it would be great.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a 1.5 tier deck at best.
Yeah, I think that's the most you could hope for. Is like, holy shit, I didn't know what to do with this idiot, like playing a Hazaret. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you win a lot. All of your wins would come off of like, oh, holy shit, now he's running Hazaret, or I guess you couldn't run Hazaret because that requires your hand to be empty, and you kind of like you really rely on like Sylvan Library and Dark Confidant. So what would you play? What would be like your threat? I guess like one random Lodestone Golem. You just you just pack one too, and you're like, now I'm a shops deck, bitch. What's up?
Surprise, motherfucker.
Surprise attack! You're like it's supposed to be Jund, but you play 4 Phyrexian Revokers and a Lodestone Golem, and you're like, this is just shops with colored mana. Then you're like, surprise, motherfucker, it's a Luris deck, and then you just cut the. No, would you go Luris? Would you just do that?
um, that wouldn't be the worst.
Oh, I'm gonna bore the hell out of you guys with this Magic the Gathering talk. No, not Jenk. Sorry, Michael Jordan Peterson.
Yep, just MJP.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, MJP is no longer here. Please leave a message after the call.
Oh, did anybody else miss that shit?
What?
The old days?
Voicemails?
Yeah.
I still have a voicemail.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like that no more.
Yeah, they used to be pleasant.
Yeah, it's definitely not as pleasant as it used to be. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't gotten a voicemail since 2012. Or let me put it another way. I haven't checked my voicemail since 2008.
there. That sounds more correct.
Yeah. They got rid of answering machines, and I was like, I'm done with this shit. No more messages for moi. Put it in an email, or I'm never going to see it.
You get one spam call once. Now all of a sudden, voicemail doesn't exist.
Yep. You're not wrong. That's literally how I think. Ooh, look at that. Black Lotus, Mox Sapphire, Mox Emerald. Don't mind if I do.
Bad cards.
I don't know. I think they're pretty good.
Well, they don't die to Doomblade, so they do have that going for
They
them.
do not die to Lightning Bolt either.
Ooh, spicy.
Oh, you know what Jund does? Okay, so Jund plays what? It plays Renin 6 and Ragavan, right? And
Yeah,
then
for sure.
it tops out with that Karn that you can just turn artifacts into creatures. So you just sit there and you just have a Doomblade machine for their fucking Moxen.
You're just playing like really bad stacks.
You're playing like the most terrible stack decks ever.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm gonna attack your library, your hand with Hymn to Torok, and then just all the permanents are gone. You run like
No one's having fun.
nope.
And therefore, I'm having fun.
The closest thing to a combo you run is Exploration or Ramonut Excavator, so you can just try to strip mine, lock people out of the game.
Oh, God. I'm not saying I don't love it. I do.
You're like, okay, all right, fair. And what's sad is I think it would still work better as a Zoo variant rather than a Jund variant, because you can run Thalia.
Oh, Thalia's sweet. I played green-white in a vintage tournament before.
They get mad
People
at you.
were real salty.
Yeah,
Real fucking salty.
because it's a stacks deck they don't know how to deal with.
Yeah. Because they're not playing Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah. In Legacy, they would be like, this is boring. I can handle this. And then, like in Vintage, it's like, this is broken. Everything needs banned here.
None of these cards are legal.
None of these cards should be legal. They're too powerful.
What are you talking about? You're playing Time Vault combo.
Yeah. I have to run 19 Pithing Needle effects to shut down everybody's Time Vault combo. I'm also like a bit confused as to why every deck in Vintage just doesn't run Time Vault first.
Because I told you I was playing green-white stacks hate.
Yeah, but you should still just play Time Vault.
It's not quite good enough to play the Time Vault
Anything that gives you infinite turns for 1 mana is always good enough.
because my goal was to turn one cast a thing that says Time Vault doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I understand that, but failing that, the second best thing is to just do the combo yourself.
If I failed that, I lost and went to game 2.
You ran into the one guy running marrow shards.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck me, he got me. He
Actually,
did
I
it.
might be dating. I'll date myself a little bit there. Mirror Shards was not a card whenever I played in this tournament. That
Oh,
did not
really?
exist yet. Yeah,
Oh,
that's how
man.
long ago that was.
Pre 2010. Hey, chat, we're talking about vintage, homie. We're talking about the big stuff. In terms of Commander, you play Corvold and then you just try to combo. Or you play Doomsday like a man. Woo! Dan's getting
Oh
feisty
shit.
with the chat. Yeah, for the record, the only competitive deck is Doomsday in Commander. That's the myth of CEDH. They're like, my 18 card Nihil what is that? What is that fucking creature? I don't even know. That creature's so bad. It's my Alicia deck as it goes infinite on attack steps. Yeah? You ever heard of Doomsday, motherfucker? You got Force of Will in that non-blue deck? Good luck.
I have the right force of will.
It's competitive. I take infinite attack steps. So does a dickbag with 10 lands, a doubling Q, and that fucking Master Warcraft shit. And that loser still loses every game. Commander sucks compared to Vintage.
I love Commander.
Yeah,
I
so do
will
I.
admit, I do. I think it's very fun.
I gotta get back into 60 card though, because my brain is getting warped by fucking Commander.
It will warp your brain. My
Yeah,
buddy is only playing Commander now, so we really need to fix that. That's why I want a cube.
yeah, that's a pretty great way to do it. I'm not gonna lie, I am terrible in every draft though. I am bad at drafting, but I am like I'm okay at sealed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
We're all bad.
I was always no. You guys are way better at drafting than I am. You're more well rounded. You're far more well rounded.
Well, I appreciate that, but I was always. I'm actually a very poor drafter by the numbers.
Are you really?
Yeah,
I've never won a game in draft.
I've, I have definitely won a game in draft.
Is that what puts you ahead of me? You've won a game.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good,
uh,
Chad. Don't worry. We're just chilling out talking about Magic the Gathering. Commander is great because it makes you think every vintage staple is actually garbage.
it's true.
Yeah, it does.
Until you get into CEDH, and then it's all super OP again.
Yeah, and then it's like vintage and everything that was
Mystic
thrown out of vintage.
Remora, please.
Yeah. When people talk about like Christic Study being broken, I always forget that like we're not playing a constructed format where that card is just trash.
Is literal trash.
Yeah, that card is just fucking garbage.
Plus, politics are much more of a thing in Commander games, so.
Yeah. The format I loved was Dual Commander because it is basically vintage with more cards. You know what I can't get to work in Commander? I can't get Affinity to work.
Oh,
It makes me really
I think
upset.
I think it can be done now.
I
The
like
new set is like a lot of stuff.
yeah, a lot of the support cards you need, like like in an affinity list or like a shops list. Are we talking about Yu-Gi-Oh? No, Magic the Gathering. We're playing a real game.
A real man's game.
Oh, I'm telling
Oh
you.
shit.
Ah man, 2023. Dan's a cranky bitch. By the way, if you're just joining in, which it seems everybody is, this is the Sons of Trier live stream and podcast. To podcast, not so much anymore because I'm lazy. But I'm Dan, and I'm joined by Jank,
That's me.
and I'm joined by Michael Jordan Peterson.
Bring me your rich.
Yeah, you are required to say the whole thing every time, like a Tribe Called Quest.
Like a
Yeah,
tribe called Quest.
yeah. You would make
Say
a
the
great.
whole thing.
I only ever played MTG to get laid. That is the saddest thing I have ever heard.
Yeah,
That is,
I did the opposite.
yeah, that's what I was doing when I was not having sex actively for that year.
That's like purse hot sauce, huh?
Yeah, god damn. Oh boy. So new year and the shit's already hitting the fan. Today is the anniversary of the day that leftists should have stayed the fuck out of everybody else's business and plotted a coup and didn't bother. And instead, the right wing enacted a coup. Not so much a coup, more a purge, because again, they were in power.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a good old family reunion over here.
Yeah.
Like a little parade.
Imagine being a power struggle in your own household and then screaming that your kids are cooing you. Like, imagine doing that. Like, it sounds weird, right?
A little bit.
Timmy,
Yeah. And I'm the first to,
put down that MAGA hat, Timmy.
Timmy, no. Timmy, age of consent laws are a thing. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh,
That's
Timmy.
oh, Timmy, that
Every time
MAGA
with the
creep
libertarian propaganda.
every time. The MAGA people too. The MAGA people like aging. Like it's funny that the MAGA people are like, on one side of the mouth they're like, we got to kill the pedophiles, and on the other hand they're just like, I don't know why I can't marry a 12-year-old. What do you conceive of as a pedophile?
Well, obviously, pedophiles only are attracted to people under the age of like 3.
Come on now,
That's how they think.
you're expecting them to use language.
Well, yeah, but like
Again, to them, pedophile means anyone that I don't like.
That is true. That
that.
is
Just
that
like
is.
every other goddamn word they use.
I hate it when MJP makes more sense than everyone else I've ever talked to before in my life.
Why do you hate that? He's a nice guy.
It just it cuts through everything bit of nonsense so clearly and concisely, and it makes me angry with myself for not having realized the correct answer early.
Shit, bro. I've been sharpening this sword for a minute. You gotta catch up with me.
This is one of my many powers.
No, Timmy. No, no. Put down the Viking outfit. What are you doing? God damn it.
Timmy,
Every
there's not a
time.
Renaissance fair. You don't need to dress like that.
This man does not miss.
Yeah. No, I would be curious as they'd be like, what the fuck they think a pedophile is, and they'd be like, it's somebody who fucks a child out of wedlock. So-
Out of wedlock, that's
oh, okay. So that's what makes them bad. It's the lack of putting a ring on it first. That's creepy. That's a weird thing you said.
a really oddly specific thing.
They gotta go on dates with an 8-year-old
Yeah.
and they're fucking playing Peppa Pig in the background.
They're basically just hanging out with the dad. You know what I mean?
Basically, yeah.
And it's worse because the dad's like, man, you'd make a great husband for my daughter. Next year, when she learns how to color in the lines, she'll be ready.
Mm,
And he's like, God willing, sir, God willing.
You're lucky she don't know how to count.
Now you understand.
Otherwise, you'd be out of here. You'd be blown out of the water. There's too many suitors.
Now you understand. If you hurt my daughter, you get like 3 of those before I get mad.
Hey, that that's what those parents do when the rich dudes come along.
That is what they do. It's fucked up. You know what else is fucked up? Like we're gonna talk about some things that happen in society. I understand. Like first off, all of these people are victims, right? So, but we have a thing in society where we don't actually, because of how do I say this without really sounding like complete shit? I just want to sound shitty. So we have a thing in society
Too
where
late.
people. No, hold on. I can pull this off. I can straddle this line of just sounding like an asshole. We have this thing in society where you can't criticize the victim, and it's premised upon the fact that there's a lot of disingenuous criticism of victims, right? So let's put that aside for a second. It's 1989, and you're at Hill's Toy Store in New York City, and Michael Jackson comes up and is like, "I'll pay you $4 million to just have your kids sleep over at my house." At what point don't you know that you are prostituting that small child?
uh,
Where when do you think it hits in your brain that you have hooked for your son because you wanted $4 million and you wanted him to get a free trip to what is essentially a private Disney World?
Ugh.
Dave Chappelle just drops him off in the van. Good luck,
Yeah.
little motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm rich. This is what you're for.
I'll go
Yeah.
pop out another one tomorrow. It's fine.
And there's the kind of the reason I say that, right? And now I'm gonna start even getting spicier. These maggot sons of bitches, um, you keep sending your kids with these other fucking pedophiles, and then you come back. Everyone engaged in the fantasy that Michael Jackson was ace. Yeah, that's the problem though. Like, if somebody was like, I'll pay you $4 million to pick up your kid and just they'll hang out at my house and spend the night in the same bed as me, I'd be like, no. In fact, I have this thing in my basement I'd love to show you though.
It's your strap on, right?
Yeah, it's a double-barreled strap-on. If you catching my drift. I like. Did you watch the doc, Dan? Pretty sure most of these parents knew pretty quick, but denied it because of the money. That's what I'm saying. But that's exactly the point. That's my point.
That was the
Thank you.
joke. That
That
was
was
the
the
joke.
joke. Yeah, these people
That
knew what they
was
were
not
doing.
even the joke, it was the text.
It was. Yeah, I didn't even really hide the subtext, did I?
The essential reading.
Yeah, don't worry, don't worry, fam. I don't need to watch the doc. I know, because when you scrutinize that situation, you're telling me you didn't know? Like, I've never, like, the problem is, like, I've never heard of a case where, like, you were paid $4 million to prostitute your child and you didn't know that you were prostituting your child. Like, like, when phrased like that, there really isn't a good answer, is there? Because either A, it's, well, I knew what I was doing, which means
At what point did they know?
you.
About when they got to check cashing place.
Yeah,
He married one of the kids. That's, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
That's the chat's picking up the text, which is good. But that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you hear these stories, right? We're not really supposed to
Ugh.
criticize those parents.
Mitch McConnell shows up at your door. Hey, let me talk to your kid.
Well, let me hit up. Is Janie home from volleyball? That's Mitch McConnell. Janie home from volleyball. He's got whiskey mumble mouth
Mhm, mhm.
from his turtle throat.
I figured he'd be
Half
after
the
your
party hasn't out of
lettuce.
it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Hmm.
it's a terrible way to pay for therapy. You know what you could do is just not do that to your children.
Oh, there's no therapy that can fix that one.
Yeah, that one's kind of hard to know. Like, that, because here's, like, again, here's the thing, here's the
That's not how
dichotomy.
trauma works.
What are the two answers to that question, right? The answer is, well, of course I knew what I was doing. I wanted the money. Well, okay, so you're also at fault. That child needs protection from you because you're the perpetrator of a horrendous crime. Or no, I didn't realize until it was too late, which means you're an inattentive parent. That's neglect. You shouldn't be in the ward of that child anymore. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? There isn't
Yeah,
an answer there.
there's no winning.
Somewhere
Yeah,
between neglect and straight evil.
yeah. Like, don't worry, we'll deal. And like,
It's
society is
like
reluctant to
answering.
deal.
It's like answering the question, when was the last time you had a drink? There's no way to answer that question without sounding like an alcoholic.
Yeah, you either sound boring or you sound like an
I
alcoholic.
have
There's no in
never
between.
drank a day in my life.
That sounds like something an alcoholic who's in denial would say.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough, chat. At least they stopped it, right? But that's the kind of thing, like, when you find out about it, you shouldn't be like, have fun next weekend. You shouldn't, like, you shouldn't treat it like summer camp. And that's kind of what the
Summer
kids.
camp?
Yeah,
Oh God.
sexy Michael Jackson camp,
Summer
which is.
camp at Art Kelly's house.
Yeah, oh, ew.
This is the slip and slide. It's filled with pee.
Just make sure
This
to
is
pee
the
on the slip and slide so you will go fast and glide.
this is the Ferris wheel. It's also filled with pee.
This is the Ferris wheel. Take off your panties, girl.
The pool is semen. That one's not just pee.
The
It's
pool is
got a
just
lot of
pee and
semen in it.
jizz. Jump in, you'll be the whiz. How are they hitting now, Jake?
Uh,
Are they hitting fine?
I love the
Yep.
cosign.
2
Are we
weeks
banned
off.
yet?
That's all I needed.
This
All
is
I
right.
think we're
2023. Are
banned.
we banned yet?
I think we're banned.
Oh, we're trying. 2023, we're trying to get banned. The easy way to get banned though is just talk about he who cannot be named.
Is it?
Jeff Sessions?
No, Jeff Sessions. What a weird guy to bring up. That little
I couldn't think
Alabama
of
weirdo, fucking Cotton
couldn't think
Hill.
of anything more random.
If you weren't molested, wait. Honestly, if I sent my kid to Michael Jackson for 4 million and he didn't come back molested, you'd have to be a little disappointed. What's wrong with my kid? Damn, that's dark. Damn, that's dark.
That means you got an
Nature, you
unmolestable
scary.
baby.
Wear the shorter pants, son. Mommy always wanted a yacht. Damn, these endurance is gonna hit right.
That moment you name your baby Yacht Money.
Yacht money.
Yacht Money, YOLO, LOL.
This
The
is my
third.
this is my son Easy, and his middle name is Tabang. Any rich guys want a chance at this?
This is my son, Priest Bait.
Priest bait. Let's slit you up,
We
prostitute.
heard True there. I didn't hear anything else True said, but I heard that laugh.
I was trying to get it to. I'm in the car, a fucking course, and I was trying to get it to play out the speakers and pick up on the car mic. It's not gonna fucking do it. It's not. You gotta have one or the other thing. You gotta have. You either can be at the good setup where you have your headphones and your laptop and shit, or you gotta have enough time to fuck with the phone and the little ear pods and shit, the on the road shit, so that you have a good setup on the road. I don't have either one of those. I don't have the time to beat the thing. I don't have the time to fuck with it. What does it sound like? Total dog shit?
You sound fine.
Ah, you're
Good, good,
good.
good, good, good. All right, excellent.
Yeah, you
Now back
sound
to the
fine.
Yeah.
joke.
Oh yeah. Hey, I had fun
What?
hosting your show, man.
Yeah, it's fucking cool, ain't it?
Yeah. The first
I
time
tried. To,
the first time I thought slapped, and then the second time my audio was so bad I had to be the host without saying anything. It was awful.
yeah, uh, Twitter Spaces are dog shit, and I think as soon as it starts happening, you have to like make it a bit and riff on it. And if you do that, then it's actually good that they're dog shit. But like, uh, some of it is annoying. Like, okay, that cat Lee that hangs out in there, about every week. Shout out, Lovely Carter, bad motherfucker, formerly Reverend Lifeguard. Actually, I think that YouTube channel is still up. That's some wild shit, also. Actually, if
Oh hell
you ever
yeah.
check out YouTube, but anyway, that dude, whatever the reason, he's in some type of holler or some type of low place around here that when it's live, I can't hear a fucking thing he's saying. And today, we did a little bit last night or Wednesday night, and then today I was replaying it, and you can hear him perfectly, which is the most fucked up. Like what Twitter, like what I don't know. I shouldn't complain about how hard it is to get the headphones to act right on Discord in the car, because man, Discord knocks the shit out of Twitter Spaces on reliability.
I would like to see if it's possible for us to do this as a space while doing this as a Discord show so we can get 2 for 1.
Right. Yes, and you can get the audio and everything. Like that's the Twitter Space. It has the one advantage is the reason that show even exists. Old Mindful Wellness. I just fired that shit up one night because I thought that a Twitter Space would be a good thing to just yell into. I was
Yeah.
like, well, let's see. But the feature is that everybody that you're on Twitter with or whatever can see that you're doing that. So really, that's the only thing it has over Discord or anything else. So I did that one Wednesday after I got out of there, and I think Juniper Nest's first person popped in, and then I had one about a week after that. Lily and that cat with the beard and some of their whole clique, their whole crew. She may have deleted again. I can't remember if she's still on Twitter. But anyway, so the first few weeks I did it, just random different crews came through. And I thought, oh, this is cool. I'm meeting these people I've been mutuals with for a long time on fuck Twitter. Now
Yeah.
we're actually like talking chit chat and shit. But then about week 3, week 4, it got into a regular rhythm of Juniper, at the nakedest. I think goes by at Thena_Cadest now, which sounds
Yeah,
like it's just
Athena
the
could ask.
nakedest again. It sounds like some kind of fantasy character. Uh,
Yes, which is awesome.
did Arthur Denton, shittiest poster. A couple of those guys, they started coming every week and just rooting for me and Juniper Nest, and then Rudy Giuliani, over there at Dick Rolls, started coming through as well. Just rooting for us to just do and say all the worst shit, because they knew we would. They knew we would perform for peanuts, and
Fact.
then they started, throwing some lines in there too. I was doing. I mean, really, really just came together out of nowhere. I think because the Twitter space has that power to just pull randos into a live show off your feed. That is all it has going for it, and that is the reason that show exists. But it's
Yeah.
fucking fun, ain't it? I can't. I got about 3/4 of the way through the replay on the first one, and then I replayed about half the second one. But I didn't hear the very end of each one. You guys didn't have any really bad drunks come in there or anything?
No, they see me and they get bored.
You kind of missed out, man. The drunks is almost the best part.
No, I kind of like shooting the shit where I didn't have to think so hard.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because with this bullshit,
Yeah,
like I'm gonna warn you tonight, we're going back to the roots somewhat. When we hit a certain marker point, I'm going raw ass theory, dog. I'm gonna raw dog that theory.
oh fuck yeah.
Don't you worry. We're gonna hit it like we did in the
Theory,
old
bro.
days. Raw dog in theory. I'm trying to see how long we've been live.
Before the '80s, when everybody got so scared, they started going around wearing two rubbers. You have to wear two. Did you guys hear that shit? It's more
Yeah,
stupid
I
shit than
remember
the.
it, and I remember it even back then being the dumbest shit I ever heard.
Double rubbers?
How little I've heard of dumb shit. I never knew it went so far.
What?
Nowadays we got people looking at Georgia Maloney like, oh no, she's not a fascist. Bending over backwards.
No, if it's a lady, then they're not because it's their turn, right?
Right.
Like
Their turn.
the other,
Yes.
men already did that.
Yes, queen.
We can't just like say no more fascism now without giving everybody a turn, right? That would be fucked up.
Right.
Everybody has to have a turn to
Right.
lead white supremacy. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like dang, there's a phrase I could use, but I don't want to use that phrase because it's so vile.
Well, then don't.
It's so succinct though. It's kind of like if we all went out and like 10 guys went out and like 2 guys got together and like bought a whore and then had sex with her, and then everybody else was like, "Hey, that's terrible." But then after the second guy's done, one of the other guys is like, "Well, now it's my turn to fuck the whore." God damn it, I used the phrase anyway. I always try to think of something to say
that
other
whore
than my turn
always
to fuck
ends
the
up
whore,
being
and then
black.
I just say it anyway because it's so perfect.
Yeah, Zizek does rock. Oh, somebody,
Yeah.
this will kill you, right? You know how Livs have been like, is Zizek a secret conservative? Which is like, Zizek has been pretty on the record about his conservative streak for years. So like,
Right.
I don't know if you need to say crypto or secret so much as like, I think you're
Neo.
not familiar with the guy. I wouldn't even
Right.
say
Yeah.
Neo. Like,
He's
he,
just the thing they don't understand is that he's left wing enough, in his philosophy to understand that if you want conservative government, you don't have to actually like give Republicans money to have that. You can just not have a thing. You don't
yeah,
have to have a guy go in there and say he's cutting it, cut a bunch of deals and shit. You can just not do anything. Would be a proper conservative execution by the state. You're
yeah.
just nothing. You don't have to have
Lazy fascism,
a guy.
the most efficient kind.
Yeah, so like now the new one is Zizek a secret liberal? No.
No, that's the one thing that guy isn't. That
It's
guy's a lot of things.
yeah, I wouldn't call him a
That guy,
crypto lib. That's a weird sentence. First
A
off,
thick
like
rip. crypto lib.
Yeah, how are you a crypto lib?
That's the machine that they're gonna put in charge of pensions, isn't it?
They're just
Yeah.
Yeah.
confused by the person that saw that. They're just confused by his name. They just think his name is like an anagram or a word puzzle or something.
That
That's
they
where they got
can't
the.
figure out.
So
No, he's exotic. Look at his name.
yeah,
This is
Yeah.
he's some kind of crypto guy. He's a crypto man. His name is scrambled on the blockchain. You have to.
No, it's just some dumb guardian bitch.
See, this comes back. This comes back to the conservative brainworms because they don't even know what crypto is.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it was like some weirdo on the Guardian who's like allegedly a socialist, but like if you're writing for the Guardian and you're a
Oh,
socialist, it's like
Patchcock, a
yeah.
fucking fascist.
I loved it the whole time. They really don't know what crypto is. I love the whole time we made fun of them for saying everything's on the blockchain. Like, okay, that stuff really is on the blockchain with a lot of other undesirable content, as we discussed on our episode of Sons for Air about it. That stuff's on there on the blockchain with all the bad stuff. But the funniest thing to
A
me is that when
crypto
Trump
lib.
finally
We put the whole market on the blockchain.
Yeah.
But when Trump finally did one, it was the thing that we had been joking about all the time. He did the joke. When Trump finally did one and said they're not even NFTs, they're just JPEGs.
they
The
are
Trump
literally just JPEGs.
Absolutely.
Isn't that amazing?
No, that sounds exactly right.
Yeah, there's nothing amazing to that. That's
Because we've been saying the whole
the
time, oh, it's just
second
a
as
JPEG.
farce. Second as farce, right?
Yeah, yeah. You guys know what fucking Juniper Nest said on that fucking goofy ass show I was just talking about?
What?
Yeah,
No.
I was so fucking depressed. That motherfucker, the first couple of weeks, Mindful Wellness was acting like she couldn't fucking riff and couldn't fucking do this shit, right? Whatever. I was in there acting all depressed the first 5 or 6 minutes of the show, and I'm like, oh man, everything just keeps happening to me over and over again. It really sucks. It's like, first it's a tragedy, then it's a farce, then it's a third thing. I'm on the third thing. I wonder what the third thing is. Nobody knows the third thing. Nobody's ever. And
It's a farsity.
that motherfucker goes
That's
AI
part of
generated art.
Oh,
Right? That's it. Right?
That's good.
It's an
That's
AI
good,
generated
Bertie. She knows
art.
what she's
That's
doing.
the point we're at now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, speak of the devil.
Yeah, see, there
Speak
she
of the
is.
devil.
Yeah.
There's
You
Mike
motherfucker.
5.
I've been thinking about that shit. I've been thinking about that shit all week. Fucking,
Just
or,
wanted to laugh.
2
That was
days.
it.
I've been thinking about that shit for 2 days. First as a tragedy, then as a farce, then as an AI generated farce. Just a
That is an NFT.
Yeah.
the same shit that happened to you a year ago again, but written by an algorithm.
Right. Well, they've been
So
doing that with
bad.
shows for years now. They've been letting AI fucking write TV shows. That's why they're all the fucking same. The plot
Oh,
points
yeah.
all slap in the same order. The mysteries all pop in the same order. It's all the same shit, man. We just live in a fucking recycling pod that
If
feeds
you
us
don't
our own
follow
fucking
this,
waste.
if you don't follow this exact formula, it's not gonna work, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, can you even blame them? They're just feeding IPs into the fucking Netflix machine now, right?
Meanwhile, the objection to it is just because they're Nazis.
Yeah.
We got a person of color in here. It's trash now.
That's a Nazi objection to everything. Why is there a non-white on my TV? I'm hurt. I'm personally
I
offended.
should not be reminded of their existence.
as
Yeah.
if somehow left wing media critics aren't ready to just tear the living shit out of something that is doing representation just to fucking do it, like the goddamn Miles Morales Thor thing, like Bioden's Fade, right?
Well, see that's the funny part because that works. You know that they're about to profit, and that works because it's diversity without inclusion.
Yeah.
Yes, all he did was say Bioden's Fade, and the frost giants that he fought were like buff black dudes that looked like
You can
it's
always
like
tell because you can just change the black character for any other race and it would still work.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it is, right?
But
Is
like, let's be cold. You can just change the white character for any other race because they're fictional fucking characters. And unless the story is specifically about a racial struggle,
Yeah.
it's all pulp
And
anyway.
if you want to be fair, I suppose even white people don't technically exist to begin with. So we're actually just living we're already living somebody's
A hyper
completely made up.
simulation.
Yeah,
There's a
like
simulation dream of humans.
it's a simulation where the people that stole capital early enough to do so decide who is and isn't white for the next 2 or 3 thousand years.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what though?
already,
I gotta be real. I hate that critique that like white people don't exist because like that seems to like unless you follow that up with that's why we have to annihilate capitalism completely. Anything you say after that is kind of junk.
oh right, yeah. There's no playing with that for like some progressive might hear me say that, or hear somebody say that, and think it's slick or whatever. But
Yeah.
unless you're ready to go balls to the wall, you don't need to be playing with that shit.
No, because like if you're not ready, like if you're not moving to the stage where you're just attacking the system for existing, right?
Yeah,
And all of its participants, regardless of color, are criminals.
yeah,
Then what you're doing is like you're just basically hiding like clearly somebody's benefiting from white supremacy. So
right.
pretending like there isn't a class of people who consider themselves white and have enough power to determine who is non-white and make them suffer is fucking
Oh,
ridiculous.
oh no! See, because there's always a global conspiracy of rotting children, worm
The
people with tiny legs, tiny legs. You gotta
bold.
watch the tiny
Are you
legs.
describing Sneetches?
I'm
Yeah,
just making shit up. I'm doing the conservative thing and making shit up.
yeah.
I wonder, do you guys think was Dr. Seuss okay? So Dr. Seuss has the one environmentalist book, but do you
Yeah.
think that really makes him like a leftist? Do you think he was? I don't know anything about Dr. Seuss.
I mean,
He would have been a
for
left
that
liberal.
time period, being a leftist was just acknowledging that racism is bad. Okay, sometimes.
Yeah. And he had to
Yeah,
grow into that
Right.
opinion because like everybody else of his era, they were shitty.
Maybe we shouldn't treat the environment as shit like shit. Is a very, very. It's a take.
It's a bold take.
Yeah.
Something that they haven't grasped today.
Yep.
The Earth is not just for resource extraction. Was radical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And still is.
We've learned nothing.
We have
for
learned
these past
absolutely
50
shit.
years.
Absolute nothing. Yeah. So I don't know. As far as that goes, like the quick answer is like their version of a leftist is different than our version of a leftist because they existed in a different society.
yeah, okay.
I
Yeah, that's true.
That's the Nancy Pelosi gets to call herself a leftist. Well, meanwhile, we're like anybody who's not capitalist is a
Like
leftist,
it hurts.
anti-capitalist.
well,
It definitely hurts to think that at one point in time, these people who never changed were like, cutting edge or whatever. But like, I guess in a way, for this country, they were.
So is this chronological? What do they call that? Like cultural relativism. Relativism. So is this chronological relativism?
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say chronological Hitler particles.
Like keep in mind like this is the thing that I think sometimes communists lose the plot on and anarchists lose the plot on. The bourgeoisie were a revolutionary class.
Right.
Somebody had to kill the monarch.
Oh, like when you weren't a serf but you weren't a lord.
Well, yeah, that would be that would be the bourgeois. At the time, they would have been a lot smaller in scale. You would have like the petite bourgeois and you'd have the bourgeois still, but the scale is smaller because, of course, you don't have like the technology we have today, right? So
Yeah.
a global capitalist then is a different thing than a global capitalist now.
Well,
There's a time factor, but
I
here
mean
nor there.
that's how shit got like weird, like on Turf Island, right? Like because
Turf
first there
Island?
was like the merchants, and then it was
Yeah.
like, oh well, they've got money, and the gentry didn't necessarily have the money anymore. So then it was like, oh, letting the merchants in. But then they went so far as to like grab fucking American bitches whose daddies had money to marry in because they could sort of filter the dirty money in from overseas without sullying themselves with commerce.
Oh yeah.
Right. See their argument. Their
Finance
argument was
capital. You're
essentially,
describing finance capital.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
essentially their problem with it was that they're not rich.
Yeah.
The
Right,
bourgeois.
but the people, their own citizens who gained money through whatever means, I mean, not any less honorable than the way that they inherited it, I would argue, but like, but people that built up capital, they didn't want to let them in their little club.
No, the
Right.
aristocracy did not want to let the capitalists in because they were a subordinate class that was rebelling and wanting more and more authority.
So it was like, that's what I was saying. So it's like if you import a wife who's got money to fund, like,
Well, we're talking. I mean, the time scale we're talking about here would be. You have to be thinking like you're kind of thinking like post the French Revolution. We're talking like pre the American Revolution. So like that 1,000-year block
right,
from like the
right. I mean,
700s to 1700s.
That's a whole different jam.
Well, that's what I mean though. Like when you compare society at that point to the classes that like when you compare society to our society, what would have been a revolutionary class took power and became the conservative class. It became the ruling class. The
Here's
Right.
one of these-
bourgeoisie.
So just like you can't truly argue, it wouldn't make sense to say, was Dr. Seuss leftist by our standards?
Right.
Right.
That's not a question you can ask.
The obvious answer is no. There's
Was
no way in hell.
Robespierre leftist? You can't really.
He would be Robespierre fucking was a member of the bourgeoisie, right? But when you compare him to the monarchs, Robespierre was really the French Stalin, and he rocked. I don't,
He got
that's where
the killings done. I mean, he praxis.
look. It's not, yeah. At some point, the opposing class is going to marshal force to protect itself. Where Robespierre, okay, if you want me to be brutal about it, where the opposing
Why
class
would I not
surrenders,
want you to be brutal about it?
fair enough. So when the opposing class surrenders itself and wants to assimilate for survival purposes, for individual living tissue survival purposes, it falls to the revolutionaries to kind of like monitor them, but in my opinion, they should allow it. The reason being is if somebody wants to join the revolutionary cause, doesn't matter how late it is, we can sort out the rest from there. Bad things happen. However, there's going to be an element of the existing class that is going to try to defend itself, right? That's the monarchs trying to take down the revolution and failing until it just crumbled of its own accord with Napoleon III, right? Or Napoleon, excuse me. So in that case, the violence is going to be justified from the revolutionary perspective, as is the violence that is committed by the forces that want the conservative party, the ruling class, to remain. They're always going to see themselves in it as fighting a just war and operating on a self-defense paradigm.
Yeah, are you for the czar or not? Then you're a lefty.
Yeah, the czarist forces certainly believe they were acting out of a preservation of self-defense, and that doesn't make their claims. I think I don't know how to describe this. Like, I'm not sympathetic with them. They are the ruling class. If you don't have the class sympathies, then it doesn't really hold water to you, does it? But
Right. So if you were a horse soldier for the czar,
and you liked the czar for whatever dumb reason going on in your brain,
or just you were getting paid, so you did your shit, it doesn't absolve you.
The world that the war runs, you're very comfortable in that world. You collect your little paycheck for doing all the horrible shit that he wants done, and then you go blow it, everything for whatever.
it depends what you do when you're facing down the Bolsheviks. To me, like it depends on that choice. When you have the choice between like I'm going to continue working with the czar or I'm going to cease operating with the czar. And the consequences of your decisions are your consequences. That's the one thing the capitalists never like. Like you make it, let's take something that I've been kind of sticklery about recently, the Holodomor, right? That alleged genocide. Let's go. And this is where I know Jenk is really comfortable with me talking now.
I love whenever you preface the word genocide with the word alleged. It can never go wrong.
It never makes you
Jeez.
feel bad.
Yeah.
But we don't conceive of, typically speaking, we don't conceive of killing off the ruling class as a genocide. Like that's kind of a new development. That's kind of an odd thing we don't normally do. Okay.
Also, 50 gazillion people dying under communism.
Yeah, that's kind of the story. But like, let's consider what's going on. Like, let's analyze the material relationships, right? The Soviets come to you and say, like, we're going to need to redistribute some of this land because we got to ramp up production right the hell now. We got to get food out to people. People are starving, and you go, well, fuck it, I'll just flood my crops. Like,
Yeah.
are the Soviets acting maliciously when they're like, that's whoa, Sonny, you've made a mistake, you done made us mad. Now we got to do
Yeah.
something about it. I don't
Yeah.
think, I personally do not think that they are. I don't think that is a genocide. And I think that if if you look at the needs of the masses, especially in a communist system, and go, fuck them, all right, that's a decision you can make. That's a decision you
Well,
made.
I I I don't know, like, because my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the definition of genocide is supposed to be that it is designed. Okay, does it need to fit? Is it necessary that you intend to wipe out a certain group in order for it to be considered a genocide?
Um,
Does the intent have to exist?
I think the intent. I think when you're charging that with a crime, no, I don't think the intent has to exist. However, I would not say that if you're reacting to an opposing hostile force, like you would never hear that American forces and like American armed soldiers who were the victims of a genocide whenever they receive an attack. You'd never hear that. So to call like that's what I'm saying. Like we're not even talking in my
Soldiers,
mind about a genocide.
okay, but I mean, like, are we quibbling about the groups that are targeted? Like, if it's a class you can control, like that? Because I mean, as I understood it, you're a materialist, right?
I am a
So,
pretty big materialist.
right. So if you effect a wiping out of a group of people, regardless of your intentions in doing so, are you not still a genocider?
I again, like it depends on how you view it, right? That's the kind of the sick thing about it.
Yeah,
Depends on how you
because
view it.
the goalpost has changed over time. It's not, it's before it was just kind of someone throwing out a buzzword and it's sticking, and they're going, oh, okay, that's a really cool word. Everybody's gonna start using it.
Well, I
Well,
Then
think
they
there's
start
some type
trying,
of
then they start trying to attach a real definition to it, and
well,
then it morphs, and all of a sudden, with the propaganda angle in it, you're looking at a thing and going, what the fuck is this?
ain't
yeah.
there ain't there like an international criminal court definition that they use
Yeah,
when
they
they're
finally come
talking to
to
somebody for it?
yeah, the UN, yeah,
Yeah,
and I
there
Which
is.
think the
obviously that's going
nationality
to
is
come
in
down.
there.
Obviously, that's going to come down. They're going to make it fit if they want to or whatever. But
Well, it's
I
like
do
charging
wonder.
someone with a hate crime, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
obviously, if you intentionally target somebody, like, to fuck them up, you hate them. I mean, I don't think.
What
I mean, basically, they were looking at what happened in the Holocaust and said, how the fuck do we describe this?
yeah.
Right. And and then there's the whole thing with, like, the Armenians and, like, the Turkish not
That
admitting that they were
well
committing genocide, or
well
in with
I'll
the
say
Kurds.
this. The Soviets and the Russians are more likely to talk about the Holodomor, right? Than the Turks are to admit that they did a genocide. And I think that kind of tells you that somebody like I certainly sympathize with that Soviet position where look, man, the working class has to defend itself. These motherfuckers didn't want to play ball. They took up arms. We reacted. So, in
Yeah.
that regard, I would put it more in a description of hostile powers fighting, even if it is a
So
losing battle.
they're saying it was a conflict, but not a genocide.
Yeah, they're saying it's a conflict, and certainly it ended in the favor of the Soviets, right? Like, that's not, I don't think that's up for debate. Like, they won. But I think it'd be pretty stupid to say that the other side won. Like, let's face it, the Soviets are a pretty good army.
But so, like, your argument is whether or not to call that a genocide.
Yeah, my argument is whether or not you even call that a genocide, because that's just capitalism's propaganda against what is essentially like capitalists have an incentive to say that because those people were used to capitalist modes of production. They are capitalists, right? They are capitalists who want to be engaging in that behavior. And the Soviets, for the most part, were okay with it up until they were like, shit, we kind of need food. This market-based shit is not working. We need food. And when they responded by going, we'll just destroy our crops, fuck you. Well, that panicked the fucking Soviets, and they went, no, you can't do that. And they went, fuck you, we'll do it. Did it, and then the Soviets went, oh, okay, all right, that's cool. That's a thing you did. These are the consequences of your own goddamn actions. How do you like that shit? We're not fucking around
Well,
either.
maybe they were saying that the crop was the consequences of their labor, and they didn't want to let those guys have it.
Yeah, they're private property, right? But that gets into why we like.
No, not private property.
Yeah.
I'm saying in the sense of like the people that grew those fucking crops.
Right. Yeah, they're making a private property argument.
Nah.
Yeah. That's exactly the argument you're making. Yeah, that's their claim. They're claiming that is their property and they don't have to yield it at the state's discretion. The Soviets disagreed.
They're saying that they put all the work into making the crops, though, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's exactly what you're describing.
The crops they produce are their property.
Yeah.
But isn't
we own it? We did it. It's ours. Like
but isn't that what we're saying as laborers? Is that?
Yeah, it's a grounds of self-defense.
What we make is not beholden to you.
That's how we would want it. That what the workers produce, the workers own.
Right. So the workers own the grain, and the government comes in and says, "Yeah, we're taking that shit."
I think in that case, like that's certainly that's the capitalist self-defense argument. Yes, that the government is coming in and saying like we own it now. You're operating in a communist political system and an ideal socialist system that is in a transitional phase. It's going from market forces to socialism. You're not going to own that for long anyway. So fighting tooth and nail over it is
like
moot.
in the real sense, it was probably like larger farmers or conglomerates that had a lot of land.
Yeah, it's the kulaks.
The people see, because I'm thinking it in the sense of like and I think this is where a lot of people get shit twisted. If you're Joe Bag of Kopecks, and you've got like, I don't know, an acre that you farm that belongs to the local guy or whoever.
Yeah.
And the local guy wants to come in and take that shit or take a share of it. Like, that's not very fair, right?
Conceptualize it like this. Imagine you were talking to the Confederate plantation owners. How sympathetic would you be?
But I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the sharecroppers later.
Right. Okay, but these are different things because the kulaks aren't sharecroppers. The kulaks are more akin as a class to the American South in the like the what is it, the fucking
antebellum period.
That's it, because I was going to say cerebellum, and that word was I was like, it's not cerebellum. It's the antebellum period.
So the thing is, I guess what I'm saying is, if the guys that were actually out there like tilling their bulgur wheat or fucking whatever,
right?
If the guys that were out there fucking with it were like, "Nah, you can't have it," and they fucked with it, that would be one thing. But what I'm hearing from you is that it was the guys that quote unquote owned the crops,
right,
that said you can't have it. And no, fuck that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's imagine like there is a reason that the Holodomor myth exists the way it is, and it is precisely because the kulaks emulate that antebellum period fucking South. Those are plantation owners, and they have in their network. They have both family members farming it, and they have paid laborers farming it. The paid laborers are the ones who have produced the crops. They would be the quote unquote owners, but those are, in the Soviet conception, members of the working class. The problem here is that production model is for the open market. Those people are selling that outside of the Soviet territory for money, instead of funneling it into the Soviet territory and accepting lesser money to make sure Russians are fed. It is a repetition of the Irish famine.
The guy who quote unquote owns the land gets the product of it and sells it off to the highest bidder.
Yes.
Whereas, like, if it were done differently, then the people who are working the land would benefit from it.
Right.
They're not necessarily going to benefit from it under that system.
No, they're not going to benefit from it in any way that would be something that an owner would benefit from it, or that in a shared work system, a shared worker would gain benefits from it. So when the Soviets come in, of course, the fucking landowners don't like it. And the landowners order the land to be destroyed, which horrifies the Soviets. So then the Soviets take, I'm not going to say it wasn't drastic action. I'm not going to say it wasn't violent action, but they certainly take action in response to what they're witnessing. The Soviets aren't acting out of self-defense. Now, let me make that clear, too. A lot of people say the Soviets were acting out of self-defense. I don't think they're acting out of self-defense. I think they had a material need that wasn't being satisfied by these people. And when they confronted them about it, the situation got worse, not better, and they took violent action in response. Right? I'm not saying I'm not saying that there wasn't some sort of fucking actual conflict. I'm not fucking pretending that it was all sunshine and roses. No, it was fucking gory. It was fucking bloody, but there was a reason behind that. And the other thing about it is the reason that is mythologized into being this massive genocide against this poor race of people, the kulaks, is precisely because capitalists have been trying to square the circle on the Confederacy in such a way that the Confederate landowners were good, actually.
Yeah, this is one of these things, like, unless you're hearing about it from somebody who's decidedly left-wing, if you're hearing about this shit, you're going to be hearing about it from a conservative dude who is really in.
Yeah, the property arrangements are entirely in favor of the landowners, and lo and behold, the nasty government came in. Now, where we heard that story before? We heard it with the South. That is literally the Confederacy's position. The Neo-Confederacy has that exact same set of opinions. When people ask, like, how can you be suspect on that? It's like, well, if you have the exact same narrative that the antebellum South has, I don't have a lot of sympathy for you. I'm sorry.
But that
Just
goes
ask an
back.
Sherman.
That just goes back to the what I see as one of the major problems in the good old US of A, where your quote unquote small business owners are like, taxation is theft.
Is it? Yep, that's what they say.
And you're very, libertarian, oh, I'm not racist types out in like the Pacific Northwest. Like, they're like, oh, but the government is coming to take my shit. Dude, you don't have enough shit for the government to give a shit about.
No, they really
and
don't.
Any economic upheaval that occurs to you is simply a side effect from the big games that the big boys are playing.
Yeah.
It's like being in the shallow end of the pool with like your water wings, and you're in a little like
Oh shit! It's R.
tube.
Kelly's pool. We went full circle.
And you're like, oh, mommy, I'm getting splashed because the high school kids are doing cannonballs down in the deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you may think like this is a weird thing for Dan to be talking about on the day of 1/6, but work through what I've said. And I don't say that in any kind of a mean way. That is not meant to hurt your feelings. But I want you to work through it, right? What do we have happen on 1/6? You have a shit ton of small business owners and decaying with small farmers of some moderate wealth, which is absolutely in decay, but is nonetheless still a product of small farming.
Unemployed and underemployed people, and people who have seen the entire economy of their small town crumble.
No, those aren't the ones who were on. Those people didn't show up on 1/6. And do you want me to be cold as to why they didn't? Those guns
they had better shit to do.
They had to be at fucking work.
Yeah.
They had to go to work, so those people don't show up. These are people who could take copious amounts of time off from their job to show up for multiple days and hang out in D.C. waiting to commit violence with very expensive firearms. These aren't poor people.
The part of it that I'll always remember is the gal Ashley Babbitt that the Capitol Police shot in the neck. Top of the window. That motherfucker, her feed leading up to going is like a few days of excitement about like, I bought this plane ticket and I'm going to meet up with all my friends from around the country that have been discussing this with me for weeks now. They've all got plane tickets too.
MegaCon.
Yeah.
And then some tweets from her, or posts. I think she was Facebook only, but there's posts after that where she's on the plane, and everybody on the motherfucking plane is going for the same reason. So they all could afford to take a cross country vacation
Yeah.
in January. I don't know about y'all, but I'm broker than any other time of the fucking year in January. I'm so broke right now, I want to kill everybody that I see that looks like they have $1. Like,
Yeah. Work through
Wait,
who
you got
these
a dollar?
motherfuckers are. They ain't fucking poor. These were all the fucking bourgeoisie middle class who feel aggrieved that fucking Joe Biden, of all people, right, is some fucking Stalin 2 taking over, ignoring elections, which ignoring elections here means like you didn't vote it's not the critical part is any vote.
It didn't come out the way I wanted, god damn it.
That is exactly what I was trying to articulate. Thank you. It didn't happen the way I wanted it to, so therefore it is invalid in my worldview. They are the ones who showed up and decided they were going to commit violence. These are your fucking members of the antebellum South. These are your fucking kulaks. These are your sons of bitches. They are part of the petite bourgeois. They are fucking feeling aggrieved. So what do? They turn to property violence and they turn to physical violence in order to get what they want. Those fucking mean old Soviets won't show up and take my farm. I'll burn it to the ground first. I'm rich. It doesn't matter. Fuck everybody who was working on my farm. Fuck all those poor people because I can't afford to pay them now because they're not doing a job for me anymore. They're useless. Fuck everybody who needed that food. Fuck all those slaves. Fuck all the fucking people in the North who say it's wrong for me to own people because I don't want to pay a wage. I'll only pay wages to people who make sure my free labor is fucking secured and locked up. You can't take my free fucking sex engine away from me. You can't take away my power to sexually harass my employees and abuse them. You have no right to do that to me. That's what I'm fucking driving at. These are the same exact fucking group of people. So I ask you in all earnestness, if you take out that class, is that really a fucking genocide? Do we weep for the antebellum South that they were the victims of a genocide? And this is
I'm
cold.
not gonna ask
I
that.
personally do not.
Yeah, you don't have to answer that, but that's what I want you to contemplate. These are the same assholes. And by the way, in the Soviet Union, they also took out the reason the Soviet Union was the devil and demented and tormented, whereas the Khmer Rouge was beloved by Reagan, is because global finance capital was booted out of one of those places and it was beloved in the other. So I ask you again, do we weep for the finance capitalists? Do we weep for the Wall Street fucking coke addicts? Do we really weep for these people? We don't have to say that all of their claims are invalid. Certainly, if somebody's coming at you with a gun, self-defense is going to kick in as a logic, right? But what I'm arguing is, does it matter? Is self-defense some sort of ironclad reason for action? No, because my answer is, depending on the context, absolutely not. You could have just acquiesced. Those Southerners who owned all those plantations when the Northern Army showed up should have went, you know what? Hey, we had a good run here. Y'all free to go. What do you need? They had that option. They had a lot of sympathizers in the North. They had that option. What did they choose to do? We'll fight to the last man, the sons of the South, blah, blah, blah. Well, you had this coming. That's what I'm saying. You got to steel your heart against some things. When you hear some shit in the world, don't take it at face value. Analyze how it looks. What are we doing here? I told you I was going to get bloody on theory tonight before we were done, and I think I have met
mean,
my promise.
well, this is
I
a favorite.
I would just counter though. Hold on, I feel like I need to get this in real quick. I would just
yeah.
counter that sometimes I say things just to say things. I wouldn't really sell my child to Michael Jackson for.
I
$4
don't
million.
believe that you would. I don't believe that was serious. We do all tell
So, but
jokes.
I'm using that
On
as
the
an
other end of the
example.
spectrum, there's people like $40 or $40.
If 2 million is 2 million, that's a hard number to pass on. That's capitalism. That's what it does to you.
Yeah, this one particular topic of discussion, it's an incident that is a favorite of progressives and Democrats and forward thinkers and people who definitely are not right wing according to them. It's a favorite of theirs to try to rein in what they think is, overreach by other leftists who are actually leftists who are trying to, come to terms with with what happened in history. It just, I'm always going to land on the side that it does matter what the government does with the money. I'm always going to land on that side.
Sure.
And, through the lens of the future, we know that the two big communist experiments, the USSR and China, when they were kind of coming back to market shit again, when they were kind of moving away from, what they attempted at pure communism or, sort of a blended approach, toward the end there, when they came away from it, they did have a shit ton of resources. As far as ready to do some shit, both countries were ready to do some shit. In case the USSR took our advice a little too much,
sadly.
But China didn't. China didn't, and China's over there still coasting on shit that it has from that. And guys that are, Democrats, progressives, like I was saying earlier, guys that are to my right but consider themselves left-wing enough, would always want to tell me that in the heat of the moment, that these young communist governments should have not been killing anybody ever for any reason, because they associate communism as a mode of production with sharing.
Well,
right?
It's socialism is the mode of production. Communism is a political arm, but that's a different thing. I get what you're saying. Just a small point of order.
They're trying to say that they do like to share because they have liberal values and they believe in sharing.
Yes.
But it's not, if you're going to do that, if you're going to be left wing, you're not allowed, nobody ever should kill anybody ever for any reason. I don't, historically that hasn't been the case.
I'll give you an extreme, for instance. I believe in North Korea, you're not supposed to bring the fucking Bible in. You're not supposed to proselytize.
You are not.
And yet, there are groups that go in there and try to do that shit.
That they do.
Yeah, that sounds
I don't
risky.
see anything wrong with them getting arrested and sent to the fucking re-education camps.
No, there's big signs up everywhere.
Nothing wrong at all.
This will sound wild, but that's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, they probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that fucking punk, a couple of years, I don't know, he came home during Trump. Where he was
beer.
some fucking chuckle fuck, he stole a sign in his hotel and then was all fucking tearful when they got him and he came home in a coma and he died. I'm not sad about that at all.
Well, I again, that's where I'm like,
local missionary goes to tribe that's uncontacted, that's entirely hostile, and
that fucking guy that got shot with the arrows.
Oh wow!
Yes! Oh my god, I was so happy about that. I did a little dance.
And see, it's funny you say that, right? Because what did I start with? Sometimes we got to quote unquote critique the victims, right? I don't think Warren Beer should have stolen the sign. I don't think they shouldn't have punished him for stealing the sign. He had no right to do that. However, the punishment, in my opinion, was excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know that, because, and this is where I'm going to admit my bias. Just from looking at pictures of him, just from reading about his family and the stuff they said about him, I think he was probably a fucking dick.
He was.
And I don't think the world is worse off without him.
Okay, just one of the worst kind of dicks. Okay, imagine this. Okay,
you're with your friend. He was a white dude in a foreign country, and he's being an asshole. Yeah.
No. Imagine this in your own life. Okay, you're with your friends. You guys are in your late teens, early 20s, right?
Yeah.
You guys are out in the town. You guys are getting away with all kind of shit. You guys are drunk. You guys are smoking weed. You guys are, doing other small crimes.
Chairs from McDonald's.
Petty crime.
No. Everything's going good. everything's going good, real good, man. And you lean back to yourself and you say, God damn, these guys are, my pals, and this is
I
great.
hope I had the time of
We're
my
having
life.
we're having a great time, but we're not going too fucking hard. And then that one guy says, I'm gonna steal that sign, and he points at either a street sign or like some kind of restaurant sign or like something that's near a security camera or a sign 10 feet away from
Something
a cop,
inherently
like
stupid.
shoving donuts in his mouth. And you just look at that guy and you're like, well, that just doesn't sound as fun as getting away scot-free with all kinds of awesome shit.
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't sound like as fun as what we were already doing. In fact, it's like one of the only ways that anybody could possibly fuck up what we were already doing. Like,
That's true.
that just it's just gonna make it where everybody wants to leave, everybody wants to vacate the area, go do something else. Everybody wants to be worrying about this shit. Like, just don't do that. But he doesn't want to just not do it because he was bored before. When you guys were having a great fucking time and just living your lives and just not taking too many risks and doing just enough bad shit. When you guys were doing that, he was bored. That guy.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't enough for him. He has to be not only the center of attention, but also owning somebody somehow. And like, that guy sucks. And I've never personally met Otto Warmbier, but I had like at least 100 beautiful, beautiful nights in my late teens, all through my 20s and into my early 30s, I'll say, ruined by a guy trying to do that. Just when that happens, it's just over. It's just over after that. Like
That's why you don't invite them.
He was that guy that thought that he could just fucking do anything.
Yes. Or that if nobody was paying attention,
and that's like these January 6 motherfuckers. They thought they could do anything.
It is important to note. It is important to note they are from the same class of people. Because you had to have the money to travel to China, to travel to North Korea, to have a budget in North Korean money to come back.
Yeah.
As a college student.
Right.
So it's important to note.
That was free money. Like, I'm sorry, like I will bet you a nickel that, would you say his name was Otto Warmbier? Oh God.
Otto Warmbier.
Could that be more Midwest? But I'll bet you Mr. Warm Beer, I don't think he like worked for the money to get there.
No.
Probably not. No.
That's not a cheap trip.
If you had to earn that dough, would you blow it going to stinking North Korea? Jesus God.
Would you fuck up your trip by being that kind of dick?
No, neither thing. I wouldn't go there to begin with money I earned through sweat and labor, and I wouldn't if I had to for some reason, or if it was my dream, my one thing I wanted to go to North Korea for whatever fucked up reason, then I definitely wouldn't fuck it up after I got there.
Right, but yeah, like, because that's the thing. If you had to earn that money, there's better shit to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
But if somebody offered me a free trip, yeah, I'd go. But like, I wouldn't. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be showing my ass like that.
No.
Just saying, there is a reason they do things the way they do. Although I can, it's one of those things. Can I understand why they reacted the way they did? Sure can. Do I think they maybe shouldn't have gone as far as they did?
That reason stupid?
Yeah, that's. I have to regrettably admit that I agree with you on that. Like, I don't think kids should have come home in a coma.
No, but should he have been punished for stealing? Yeah. I don't know why that's such. It's like, I don't know why that is like the fucking. Can you believe they fucking punish him for stealing? Well, you're not used to a white guy being punished for stealing. It's the premise of the fucking country. Of course, that's offensive to you. I don't feel the same way.
I think that was the most shocking thing about it for a lot of people.
Steal.
Yeah, that there are countries that won't just let white people walk all over them.
I mean, they definitely wouldn't realize that's why it was shocking them so much in the moment. But I think for a lot of people, that's why they thought it was so shocking.
Yeah.
How could those uppity North Koreans decide to do that to a visiting white man? I mean,
how can them coloreds think they can treat the whites like that? Yeah, that's how they thought.
Right.
You know, you want to get
They're
to the
supposed to
vulgar.
be petrified of us. They're supposed to be petrified of our great arsenal, which, that thing we can't use unless it'll make everybody else all use theirs and then everyone dies. They're supposed to be afraid we're going to use that.
Yeah. And they're not afraid of it. They'll lock shit down. So again, I think it's fair to critique. That's the driving point of tonight's evening, is you can't be afraid to critique the victim. It doesn't mean you have to empathize with the fucking aggressor, right? You don't have to empathize with the ruling class to critique the victim.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's
For
just
sure.
something. Look
That
at
makes
both.
sense, yeah.
Two things can be true at once.
Correct. And
Nuance exists. People just hate nuance.
that's the other thing I would say going into 2023, when you're making decisions about everything from politics to what you're going to eat for tonight. Keep that as one of the things you use to screen your decision making. You can't be afraid to critique that shit. You can't be afraid to mull it over, because the way it is presented to you in this awful fucking society is always from the view of the powerful. And just make sure the victim is actually a victim, right? Because I don't think anybody weeps for Jeffrey Epstein. And anybody who does is what we call a perpetrator of sex crimes.
I dumped out all those old pictures
Oh, that was
that I
a
had.
joke.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had on that phone was it was a captioned screenshot of Norm Macdonald on his old podcast he did before he died, and he's on there and he's looking at a book. I don't know what book it is. It's probably just a prop so he can do this line, because it's one of the greatest fucking lines ever. And if I thought of it like Norm did, I'd be chomping at the fucking bit for a chance to say it. But anyway, he's looking at this book and he goes, "Hey, wow! According to this history book, the good guys won every time."
Yeah. That is a good
Just
line.
one of the greatest lines ever written or delivered, courtesy of old dead Norm Macdonald.
What did he say? There was one joke he did while he was hanging out with Jerry Seinfeld, which was like, yeah, it's sus you're hanging out with Jerry Seinfeld, but I'll let that pass for now. But the worst thing about Bill Cosby was the lying, and he was like, I would have thought it was the raping. People are saying it was the lying or
Right.
the broken trust. No, it was the rapes.
Right. And all of the people
Definitely the crimes.
Yeah.
all the people that grew up watching Fat Albert were very sad that now they were embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah.
How dare
Man,
he embarrass
what
me?
tragedy.
What a tragedy that these women have come out and said this, and it hurts my connection to Bill Cosby's body of work.
a rich guy that claimed to be
Just when I was finally feeling good about one of these blacks.
You know that was the thought.
It just goes
But
to show
isn't that the Democratic Party's like
Modus
current
operandi.
Modus
grievance?
operandi.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, people are saying what they actually think and do. That's terrible. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, actually, no. Like they're being like that is what's bad.
Well, look. What is their claim though? What is their claim whenever these people talk? They go, they're brainwashed. They can't possibly. They're so fucking brainwashed that they can't possibly believe people actually think this shit. They don't know how to process it. They have to allege that there's a conspiracy to warp these people's brains. And like, fair enough, there is, but they still really think it. They still really believe the shit coming out of their mouth. They're not setting. It's that and grifting, right? Everybody's a grifter now.
Yeah.
They can't fucking wrap their head around, because like, what have they been taught their entire lives? All this shit was settled. Anything else is just one bad acting.
We're in a post-racist society. End of history.
End of history. Yes. It's so fucking funny you said that, because like, they really are having a fucking panic attack that liberalism is falling apart around them.
We elected a black man as president.
You are
How
not
much more do you
What more
want?
do you need?
What more could you possibly want from us? The black guy was the president.
Yo, we did that. We did
For
that
the
2
love
whole
of
ass
God, a
time.
black guy
Well, and
was
that's
the
and that's
president.
honestly where the furor about Hillary is, because it was like, oh, it was the time. It was time.
It was time. This was supposed to happen in a certain machined way to seal the deal, right? To seal the deal.
She played the game from A to Z, and she was personally wounded Like,
Yeah.
not just but personally wounded that she didn't get her fucking turn because it was promised to her.
Oh,
It
she
was
felt the entitlement.
promised to her.
Yeah. She didn't have
And
to do anything. She took it for granted that she would just get exactly what she wanted.
because she did exactly what the game told her to do.
Yeah.
But I honestly believe that woman is like, her mind can't accept it.
No.
Just the same way that Trump couldn't accept that, like,
People didn't like him.
Biden's election was legitimate.
Yeah, people didn't like Donald Trump. And more people didn't like Donald Trump than liked him. He can't fathom the notion. So the results have to be unilaterally fake.
Right. Like, none of this can be real because it doesn't fit my view of the world.
He also, like, the other thing with Trump, the other thing I love about Trump, I really do love it, because he can't fathom the notion, he can't fathom the fucking idea that people are laughing at him. Right? He doesn't
We were laughing
understand.
so hard at him.
Yeah. He rocked because he made himself out to be a fucking clown. He was somebody who was every 90s pejorative you're not allowed to say anymore, but he was all of those things, and it was permissible to laugh at him because he's an old white man acting like a fucking chud.
So wonderfully unaware.
Yes. No self-awareness. No, like, for somebody with that much ego, it's weird that they were that, like, separated from their own ego.
But he's made the point for decades of only surrounding himself with people that will stroke his ego,
Yeah.
and then ruthlessly crushing anyone that does not comply.
Bingo.
So
then-
there's no way. It was like he couldn't understand the idea of an arena that was bigger
Yeah.
than what he had played.
Other people put him through hell. The existence of other people torments him in a way he cannot possibly process. And there is just, it's delightful. It is so delightful to me in a very, like I said, it's in a way that I am not allowed to actually express in society in any other context. How delightfully awful Mr. Trump is.
Well,
It's that kind of
did you?
irredeemable evil that you're just like, they're like, he can't really believe that. Yeah,
Yeah, he does.
he's that awful.
He is the bad man. He is Trump bad man.
I mean, I grew up with him,
Unfortunately, a lot of us did.
and
We grew up with Kanye.
We grew up with Kanye, yeah.
well, I was an adult before he showed his face, and older before he showed his ass.
I mean, well, yeah, but we were like, we were in our 20s. Like, you're only in your 30s, right? You're in your 30s and 40s like the rest of us, aren't you?
Keep going, kid.
Are you in your 50s? No way.
No, I'm not 50 yet.
Okay, but you're in your 40s.
Yes,
Okay,
later
so
40s.
you would have been just like us. You would have been in your 20s. You would have been in your 20s when he was acting like a complete... For Kanye, being like when he came on the scene.
Oh, no, I was in my 20s. Yeah.
You might have been on the other side that we were on, but that's irrelevant because you were still there. You were still like in that young adult stage where like you have this fucking goober coming on stage. Oh yeah.
I mean, well, and plus, I mean, if the timelines align, like that was when I was in nursing school. I was doing more drugs then than I ever had in my life.
Fact.
So
I don't know that's a fact,
perfect.
but
That's
fact.
a perfect time for Kanye then.
That is the perfect time for Kanye. That's when he's at his most believable.
Right, and I was like, oh, this kid is a genius. Like he's a fucking train wreck.
Everybody fucking did that. And as it
then
turns out,
it was like, no, he's a train wreck. and the thing is, like, I mean, because I've worked in mental health for Jesus too long, and
too long, Johnny.
I didn't have him pegged early on, but I think here's the thing. I think that when his mom died during a cosmetic surgery that she wouldn't have had if he didn't give her too much money, I really think that's what broke him, because I think,
I'd say you're
I
right.
mean, well, at heart, he's a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, without a
but
doubt.
and I'm sure religion played a part in it, but it's like I've known families where the only reason that the kid gets treatment or acts a certain way is because their parents enforce it. And then it's always like the question of like, oh, what happens when family member dies?
Yeah.
And I think we're looking at what happens when there's not a plan for how to manage JoJo when mama dies.
It could be.
You know, because if it was a small town, like, he'd be masturbating next to the corner store and like shouting lyrics at the ladies as like they go in to like, you know, buy groceries.
Yeah.
You
I'm not
know, and
arguing
in
that.
some towns it would just be like, oh,
I'm
that's
not saying you're wrong, but
No.
boy, is that a way to describe it.
Okay, yes, that is an image, but I
you
mean,
know,
is
and
it
it'd be like,
incorrect?
oh,
No.
that's Kenny. That's Kenny. Yeah, his mom died a couple of years ago. It's sad. And like, you know, people would make sure he had groceries. You know?
Yeah.
But
Kitty.
They would still call him Yee, but they would say it a little more affectionately. They'd be like, "Oh, that's poor Yee. His mama died. The drunk tugging it in town."
and that's that's how I see all this. It's like he's just yanking his pud at all of us and like skeeting, and like some people are trying to make money off of it and some people are like, oh, this is terrible. You
That's
know,
it.
but it's like what it really is like, yo, put your dick away. And there's nobody with enough power and sense to just tell him to put his dick away.
I have some sympathies for the situation he's in, because like what he's found out is that within every class there is still a color hierarchy, right? What he just slammed
Oh,
into that really
absolutely.
hard. But
Mhm.
and I you know, again, I have sympathies for that. You know what the counterpoint is though? It was entirely his option to go out and do all the racism. He didn't have to do any of that. If he had stopped it, look, I'm the victim of colorism within the billionaire class, I'd have been like, yeah, how's it feel? And moved on.
But
Now
he still thinks he can be one of them. It's like
he
LG and
does.
I were talking about the other night, where it's like he grew up in the post-racial society.
Yeah.
So he still thinks he can be the guy at the top of the hill pushing the boulder down on the other people.
Yes, he does.
And he can to some extent.
Kind of.
Kinda.
Kind
But
of.
he can't. It's still a big club and he's not in it.
Yeah.
And I don't think he gets that he can't be in their club.
He definitely did get it at one point.
he
Like,
he
there's literal lyrics in his songs about that very point.
yeah.
Like
He
that's
is
what's
in their
most
club.
freaking
He
weird about Kanye West is that, like, as an artist, he's written lines upon lines that that attack his currently held viewpoints as hypocritical or confused or poorly thought out. Like, he saw it coming as he was getting more and more money, that it was going to put him in this position that I think he considered ontologically evil, but I don't think he accounted for the confusion that was going to overtake him. I don't think he accounted for just the psychic damage of all that shit piling up on all of his mental problems that he already had. Like,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't think that if you were out there saying, I'm the next Warhol, I'm the next Walt Disney, which is not even, it's literally what he said. So he knew he was going to be super famous. He knew he was going to have a shit ton of money. And some of the early albums have stuff where he tries to interrogate, in self-defense, I think, that future, maybe make it go better somehow. But then, yeah, when you hand your own mom a big chunk of change and then she goes and proceeds to kill herself with it, trying to look, young and beautiful like society wants the rich guy's family to look or whatever. Like, that pretty much, that's your decision point. You need to
Her
decide.
dying in surgery is bad enough. Her dying in elective surgery that he financed,
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
has to eat at you.
there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
way it does.
It's going to give you
There's
brain
no way.
rot.
There's
But
no way you get over.
I'll put this out here. There's a difference between him and Jay-Z, and the difference between him and Jay-Z is Jay-Z knows his place within that hierarchy. He knows he's better than
100%.
he knows
Oh.
he's better than poor whites. He knows he's better than middle class whites. He knows he's better than low rich whites, the petite bourgeois. He knows he's better than the Trump voters. But at the exact same time, what does he also know? He knows not to mess with those rich Jews and the rich whites who fucking bankroll all his shit. Kanye
If
didn't
the
learn that
NFL
lesson.
tells him to take a position, he takes a position.
Yeah,
He knows
sucks so
what
bad,
side his
man.
bread is buttered on. He's not stupid.
right. Kanye is.
Have some fucking songs now that Jay-Z writes is about how he has to pay too much taxes on his fucking mansions and shit. It's fucking
Exactly.
terrible.
They are terrible, but the point is, like, he knows how to operate within the class paradigm, and he knows who he's better than, and he knows who he's not better than.
He made music during a certain period of time, and now he makes money.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I'm going to say, like, just from a pure, like, solipsistic standpoint, good for him. He deserves every bit of that. If all you're looking out for is you and yours,
He's
God
achieved his
damn it,
ends.
I applaud you.
He's achieved his ends. Sure.
Exactly.
He
I
gets
mean,
to fuck Beyonce.
Yeah, I
I-
mean, how much more could you want?
yeah.
He's claiming
And
that.
you know what? So if it turns out that he doesn't use that power and influence to make the world better, who am I to tell him that he needs to fuck his shit up for the rest of us?
Well, you're a member of the working class. That's all you
I
need.
am.
That's all you need. Right there, you have the authority.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't blame him in any, like, I don't side eye him like I do Kanye, because like I feel like he did what he set out to do.
I agree with that.
And he's never claimed to be a leftist.
No.
It's not like he's betraying my
No,
ideals.
and in fact, he very blatantly said, "Everyone around me is poor, so I'm going to get money from these people and give it to myself. Then there'll be one less poor person." That's like a literal line in his songs.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean
Get what you can
mean
get
Mr.
while
you
the
mean
get
Mr.
is
King
good.
Black capitalism?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's he's gotten what he wanted. So it's like I'm mad about that. I mean, can I take a position against that? Yeah, sure I can. But like as an individual, I can't be mad at Sean Carter.
Oh, he did what he wanted to do.
Right.
The problem isn't, here's the thing too. Like some people have the inherent beef that, oh, he's doing well, so he's a piece of shit, blah blah blah. Like that's not the problem. The problem is he's doing well and he's not doing anything to help others. Like that's my beef. Like I have an opposing beef on that because that is my beef. Precisely
Well,
that.
he's a capitalist. What else?
Yeah, well, I can't fault. The thing is, like, if somebody's doing well in life, you can't fault them for doing well in life. But you can fault them for being shitty to everybody else. And that's what he's chosen to do. That's fine. That's his decision to make. Whatever the consequences of that decision are in the long run, that sucks. That sucks for him.
I can't be more mad at him than like my local broker, though.
Like
You can do something about your local broker.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad at the local broker.
In Minecraft, you can do something about them in Minecraft.
if somebody's taking
I don't have a local broker anymore. Sorry. There used to be a tap room that I would frequent where there was a dude who was like an investment guy, and he would come in and solicit people, in the tap room.
Sounds
And
pretty gay.
It's the best place to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, good in a way, good for him, I
Is
guess.
this like innuendo?
Tap room, it
I like.
means a guy's butt.
No, I
I
mean,
think it.
like, could I guillotine him? Sure, but like, I'm not mad at him.
Oh yeah. If the day comes and the crowd has that guy and they hand you the rope and you recognize him and shit, like I'm gonna give him a look like, oh man, it's you. That sucks. That's bad luck.
Sucks to
And
be you.
I'm gonna ask, is there anything you need me to do after?
Yeah, but that's essentially symbolic.
You're gonna
Isn't it?
tenderly execute him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will take
You
no
rub
joy
his
in it.
hair. You rub his hair
Say
Maybe
and
hello.
scratch
gently.
the back of his neck, like right by his Garys.
Yeah. To
It'll be all
the
right.
rugs
I,
above.
I've got the drop calculated, dude. You'll be cool.
And if there's already hundreds of motherfuckers that have dragged him up to the fucking thing anyway, it's not like if you say, "Well, I'm not doing this," and somebody else isn't going to immediately do it anyway.
Oh, I'd still
Like,
do it.
I'd give him the old Yeller treatment.
I'm doing you a favor, boy. Get out of here.
Oh,
All right.
but
You
So,
don't want to become what's going to happen to you, kid.
no.
I think just like with trying to quantify the genocide we were on earlier, just like with trying to quantify that, I think people, whether they're a conservative or whether they're a liberal or whatever they are, if they're not a crank, they always when I'm saying that the onus of making things better or doing something big or helping people or whatever is on the ultra wealthy so much more than it's on anyone else. And every day they don't do anything and just hoard wealth. They suck worse and worse and
That's a
deserve whatever.
misunderstanding. They're ultra wealthy for a reason.
Yeah.
Yes, the merit.
You're
Yes,
going under.
They don't tip.
You're going under their paradigm. You're not going
yes.
under a Marxist situation.
No.
But I think that when that happens, though, people always want to lock me to a number for the same reason that they want to lock the genocide thing to good or bad or to a number. Like, what's the right number of guys to kill if they're going to flood their own field? Like, it's not about a number. It's entirely about context. And like, who's so rich that they're ruining the world by just hoarding the money and not doing anything good or just doing bad shit or selfish shit? Like, I know it when I see it, man.
Yeah.
And I
you're
think
taking
everybody,
the New York judge approach. Is that what we're
yes,
going with?
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I'm doing. I think probably everybody knows it when they see it. And the real difference in how you feel about it is whether you're mad about it or whether you're just jealous. Like, I
You're
mean,
not wrong.
that's it. You know it when you see it. And it's something that I think a lot of left wing discourse just comes down to calling somebody a class reductionist and trying to make everything be about numbers, just because of the length of how long the left has been powerless and can't really do anything. So you guys know better than anybody that I kick it with. Just these endless discussions that whether they're devised to completely stop anything from happening. That's down to who you're talking to, whether it's the image of the guy in the FBI jacket on the computer or whether it's actually another left wing person.
Yeah.
Like it sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's by accident, but it definitely does. It definitely does just bring everything to a screeching halt. I think there's a lot of stuff that we'll know it when we see it, and it's better not to plan it.
Yeah.
I've been on Twitter long enough that the discourse is just recycled bullshit.
What'd you do? You made that account about like 6-8 months ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's already just the same
Yeah.
goddamn things.
Yeah. They want to double dip on one that they think they didn't do good enough on. Shit. It's like Matt Crispin said that shit. Is that the guys that their whole thing is just having takes about political issues. They are always waiting for the one that they got their ass beat on to come back around, so that they can so that they can have a better, so they can come out like the smart guy next time or the more contrarian take or whatever. And then it just, every time it does, it's worse. And then you go look up old tweets from that person and you're like, oh my God, every time this comes up, they say something progressively worse about it about every 6 to 8 months.
Yep. That's it. All right. So That's the Night Sons of Trio to kick off 2023. This year, prepare for, I don't know, basically the same shit we've always been doing. We don't change, motherfucker. Marxism. Mayhem. Minecraft. Let's go. Love
Battlestar
you guys.
Galactica.
But no. No. God damn it, no.
Lasers.
Hellraiser.
Mega Man.
And I just want to throw out a quick thank you, because one of the joys of coming in here is that I know dick nothing about any theory. I just blunder my way through, and thank you so much for doing more to educate the public.
That's what we got to do here.
Oh, thank you.
That's
It's
what we do for the
greatly
Thank
masses.
you. Thank
appreciated.
you for showing up to be educated.
Yeah.
And I love
It
it.
only works. It only works with this many dick jokes. Any less dick jokes, and people would just kind of gradually tune out.
Oh
Mhm.
no, I was
Yeah, we've got
right
strategic
off dick jokes,
amounts
but-
of dick jokes.
That's how Jenkins